Hello everyone, Professor MoneyPigTrading. Today, February 26, 2023, we're going to talk about a biotechnology company, Iovance. The ticker name is IOVA. We believe it's a Tesla of the biotech industry because it has, just like Tesla, it has a brand new technology that's going to transform the cancer therapeutics. 2023 is the year for the catalyst for this company, so let's take a look. Before we started, just wanted to highlight our previous success biotech investment. The video is on the upper right corner, TGTX. We highlighted when it was at 6.8, and last week went up to 19.59 within about 2 months time frame, since their new drug has been approved by FDA. We shouted out and bring up more than 200% return. On the right side is one of our benchmarking accounts that has a pretty decent return so far this year. However, the past success story doesn't necessarily mean this Iovance is going to be successful. Just kind of provide a FYI about our track record. So currently we're holding IOVA stocks and long call options. Do not represent any pharmaceutical company as a disclaimer, and any medical questions, please consult your doctors. And also, we're not financial advisors. Please invest at your own risk. Talk about what's the history about Iovance. Basically, it's based in San Carlos, California, so it's in the Bay Area. What they do is innovating, developing, and delivering tumor-infiltrating lymphocyte, or abbreviated as TIL, therapy for people with cancer. So this TIL is the brand new technology that we're going to talk about, potentially going to transform the cancer, solid tumor cancer treatment. So the history is this company was founded 2007 as Genesis Biopharma by Mr. Eli. In 2013, Lion Biotechnology merged with Genesis Biopharma, which is founded by Manish, and these two companies merged and become Lion Biopharma. And this company is rebranded to Iovance in 2017. And interestingly, both these two gentlemen, Eli and Manish, they are no longer in the company. It doesn't seem like they're a board member in the current Iovance as well. I don't know what's going on. I don't think it's going to change the investment thesis. Maybe they still hold shares of Iovance. I'm not sure, but if you know the story, I'm happy to hear about it. Feel free to leave the comment down below or reach us out on info@moneypigtrading.com. So let's take a look at the TIL therapy itself and what it is. Trying to introduce it in layman terms. So basically, unfortunately, if a patient has solid tumor cancer, the doctor has performed procedure to take out those tissues or the tumor itself. And once take it out, and because our immune system were able to generate some cells to attack those cancer cells, and if those tumor cells contain those type of cells that generated by the immune system called TIL, what the IOVA can do is take out those TIL and extract them and multiply them in the lab so that they can provide an IV injection of those immune cells to the patient, where the immune cells will be able to detect the cancer cells in large quantity and accurately and precisely. And by this will greatly reduce the side effect of cancer treatment, because currently chemotherapies nonetheless will basically target good, bad cells together, right? However, in this TILs, because it's produced by our own immune system to target cancer cells, it will only target those bad cancer cells without harming the good cells in our body. So that should greatly reduce the side effect of existing cancer treatment and potentially benefit the patients. So currently, Iovance actually has a lot of pipeline on their website. If you go to iovance.com/clinical-pipeline, we're not going to talk about all those details. We're trying to summarize it in layman terms so you understand the investment thesis and the potential of this company. So currently, they have a really promising drug called Lifileucel. So let's take a look at the current progress. Here, the matrix is all called overall response rate, or ORR, is a very common cancer clinical trials metrics. And basically, they are expanding this Lifileucel in 4 major different types of cancer. Okay, melanoma, which is the bad skin cancer, which usually doesn't respond to chemotherapy very well. The second type is head and neck cancer, and cervical cancers, and non-small cell lung cancer. So melanoma is the one that they're advancing the fastest and looks very promising. In their phase 2 trial, the ORR is 31.4%. even though it doesn't sound as high because it's less than 50%. But we have to understand, currently they're doing their phase 2 trial and the pivotal trials in the last cancer stage, where patients literally do not respond to any type of treatment. So basically, if those patients didn't receive this Lifileucel, most likely the patient will pass away in the future. So 31.4%, a really impressive response rate over here. And not only that, in the pivotal study, their Lifileucel against melanoma basically showed 41.7% ORR constantly after 24 months, which is really, really great numbers, because usually in chemotherapy, the efficacy will keep dropping, the ORR will keep dropping over time because the tumor cells might develop into drug resistant, but it doesn't seem like that's the case over here in this Lifileucel in comparison. So currently, there's a big catalyst for Lifileucel against melanoma coming up in 23 Q1. The earnings is on February 28th, so potentially they might announce this biological license application. That means they're going to send the new drug application to the FDA. And once FDA give a timeline on the PDUFA date, that's also a win for the company. Potentially, we think FDA might approve emergency authorization approval of this drug in the second half of 2023, which will be another big catalyst for this company. And not only that, the company is expanding, like we mentioned, to pretty not very treatable head and neck cancer. So they mentioned the last quarter, November 2022 earnings, that they actually have the data already. The trial, phase 2 trial has been completed. They're analyzing the data. Potentially they're going to release in 2023. We don't know when, maybe this upcoming earnings calls or later this year. But if the numbers look positive, potentially it can boost the stock price as well. The other one they are moving pretty well is the cervical cancer. And the phase 2 trial is even more impressive. The ORR is 50% for the late stage cervical cancer, which most patients don't respond to any type of treatment at all. And potentially they have a pivotal study going on. That might be a 2024 data release. We don't know. The management hasn't provided lots of update. I checked clinicaltrial.gov since they're still collecting patients, so that's more like a TBD. But 2024 looks more like a reasonable timeline in our opinion, but that's just our guesstimate. If the pivotal study does look well, they might just file the BLA, biological license application, in 2024, maybe late 2024, and potentially get FDA approval in maybe late 2024 or 2025. So our speculation again, but so far the phase 2 trial results look very promising. The non-small cell lung cancer is actually one of the largest cancer population in the United States. So far, they have really decent phase 2 trial results as well, 21 ORR after 37 months. So the treatment seems to be able to last for a very long time for this untreatable and small cell lung cancer, stage 4 cancer. And the pivotal study, again, our speculation is potentially they're going to release the 2024 the full data. If it looks good, based on the melanoma data that we had, and the small cell lung cancer, the phase 2 trial that we see, we think the pivotal study will probably also show good results on this one. Then potentially it's going to be another catalyst as well. And also, Lifileucel actually cover a lot of cancer population. This is a slide we just borrowed from the IOVA. Basically, the one that we showed earlier in the pipeline, the last slide, melanoma, cervical cancer, small lung cancer, and this head and neck cancer probably cover about 400,000 cases in the United States. So there's a pretty decent population size if all of them can get approved by FDA as a first-line treatment. We're talking about billions of sales, and potentially can push this the company into very couple $1 billion of valuation at least. And this slide also has a key factor is this TIL treatment focus on the solid tumor cancer. Data looks promising. And don't forget, 90% of all cancer cases in the United States or in the world are solid tumors, right? So their market cap is huge. Addressable market is huge for this brand new treatment. That's why we mentioned it's a Tesla in the biotech industry, because the data right now looks promising and the market is just huge. Let's take a look at the stock price since the IPO back to 2017. The stock price actually pushed out from $4 very nicely to $54 in late 2020. However, starting in 2021, the past 2 years has been very miserable for the stock price. The stock actually dropped from $54 all the way to around the IPO level, around $4 and $5. And right now, it's bouncing back to $7 a share. What happened is May 18, 2021, their past CEO actually resigned. And just on that day, or maybe the day after, FDA actually issued a question about its potency assay needed for their biological license application. And that is why their biological license application has been delayed. Last year, they actually said potentially they're going to launch this BLA in Q4 2022, but they still, this BLA got delayed. But lately, in the past, two conference presentations, including earnings calls, they reconfirmed that the BLA will be filed in 23 Q1. So we believe, even though we don't know yet, but potentially they have resolved this assay issue that FDA is questioning. So they're going to launch this BLA, but definitely a risk here. Hopefully that will happen soon. So if that happens, I think the stock price will push up from here. And look at the chart again. And since the May 18, 2021, the stock price actually down from $26 to about $15 that week after these two major down negative news. And the stock price just keep going downward. And basically now it's bouncing back. And the last few slides, we're actually going to talk about a lot of insider purchase lately. So that also boosts our confidence in the stock. So let's take a look at the price action estimate and forecast. So we talk about this BLA filing in 23 Q1. Right now it's at $7. We believe that news press release come out, potentially going to boost the stock price to $8 to $10. If Lifileucel on melanoma can get an FDA approval in the second half this year, after this BLA filing, we believe that will prove that at least this drug is working and the addressable market is there. So even though the early sales volume won't be that impressive, as we know, it's very challenging for a small biotech to launch a big product like this. We still think it has a good chance for the stock to push to $20 to $30 per share, just because how promising everything is on the table. And like we mentioned, if Lifileucel in 2023 phase 2 head and neck cancers, which is bigger addressable market than melanoma, if the phase 2 results look positive, we believe potentially going to add another $5 per share on the stock price. However, currently their stock, their cash level is good until potentially Q4 2024 or early 2025, because they actually just raised a couple $100 million of loans back to January this year. But if they do any stock offering in late 2024, the stock price will drop. We don't know how much it might drop. Depends on the stock dilution they might do. But maybe they won't do it at all. Maybe they will just do some mortgage like they have done in January 2023. So we just don't know. This is all our speculation. 2024, like we mentioned, Lifileucel, if they have cervical cancer positive pivotal trial, we believe that will boost another stock price, another $5 to $10 per share based on the existing outstanding share. If they have dilution, this equation will change. So we cannot provide a really very good estimate from here, especially if there's any potential stock offering in late 2024 or mid 2024. So again, this is based on the current outstanding shares. And if the cervical cancer for Lifileucel can get FDA approved, we think that's another $5 to $10 per share improvement on stock price. And if Lifileucel can start to show positive data on this small cell lung cancer, which is a really big addressable market, we believe is not at least another $20 per share based on the addressable market that we showed in the previous slide. And don't forget, Lifileucel is actually going to perform a phase 2 confirmatory phase 3 trial on melanoma. And they are planning to launch that in late 2023. And they plan to have, I think, 670 or 570 patients, something around that. Once they finish collecting the patients, and completely the study. We believe, okay, our speculation, the time frame is maybe around 2025, 2026. That's going to be a huge thing for this stock, and potentially can add another $30 to $40 a share based on the existing outstanding share. But why that is so important, that we'll explain in the following slide. And that's actually a weakness of the current phase 2 study. Why? Because in the current phase 2 and pivotal trial for Lifileucel against melanoma, they didn't do a control arm. So what they do is to fast speed out the clinical trial. I believe that's the reason, I'm not sure, that they are currently using a combo treatment on Lifileucel plus Keytruda, which is existing chemotherapy, melanoma. And so far, we have seen the data. Overall response rate on those stage 4 melanoma cancer patients is really well. 31%, 45%, something like that in the previous slides. So that shows FDA and us how safe and how effective the combo treatments are. However, because of this, there's no control arm. This Lifileucel plus Keytruda combo therapy can only be used as a last line treatment. That totally reduce the addressable market of the Lifileucel at the moment. However, if the 2023, late 2023 this year, they can start a phase 3 confirmatory trial on Lifileucel and get the positive data, which we believe it will based on the existing data that we have seen. And if we can get this phase 3 confirmatory trial finished at the end of 2015 or 2016, that means Lifileucel plus Keytruda as a combo therapy will perform better than Keytruda itself. That means Lifileucel can show its superiority over Keytruda. And this will give Iovance the chance to make Lifileucel and Keytruda as the first-line treatment for melanoma and potentially other cancers as well. If that happened, Lifileucel will be the frontline treatment. That will just make the overall market so big that I think this is over $100 shares if we add up the number in the previous slides. Okay, and so we think that's why it's a great opportunity, but it's a really long time frame that we're talking about, 2 to 3 years from now, if all the FDA regulatory hurdles being overcome and clinical trial results show positive data, which Iovance has been showing positive clinical trial data pretty consistently, which I'm really impressed on Lifileucel. Okay, so this is a very important topic part. I believe I'm trying to explain in the layman terms. If you don't quite understand or a question, feel free to leave a comment down below. I know if you're not in the field, it might be a little hard to pick out some of those important details into this investment thesis. Another thing we want to highlight is Iovance actually have a really solid patent protection. I'm not a patent attorney myself, but just quickly going through some of the patents they list on their website, and actually cover multiple treatments and multiple stages of their treatment production, manufacture, how the drug being used, etc. So we think this company is well protected on the patent perspective. But if you're a patent attorney, you found out there are some big holes, I mean, feel free to reach out. I would like to learn, and because I'm investing in Iovance, I would like to know what are the risks as well. Let's take a look at existing potential competitors. Basically, the market is so big, we don't really think they are direct competitors per se, but instead it's more like potential competitors. So for Iovance, the Lifileucel is directly competing with chemotherapies, which are consist of mostly chemical molecules. And their routes are IV or topicals. And the traditional chemotherapy is focused on solid tumors, where 90% of cancers are solid tumors and blood cancers. And because we mentioned they target both good and bad cells, the side effects are usually mild to serious complications. However, even though the complications are pretty bad, very often in chemotherapies, but it is tolerated because most patients in cancers, if they don't get treated, most likely they will result into death. So those mild to serious complications are mostly tolerated. However, there are cell therapies that have been progressing and some got FDA approved that actually target only the bad cells and leave the good cells apart. So that greatly reduce the side effects on cancer treatment. So there are two types of cell therapies. One is called chimeric antigen receptors, CAR-T, Just like TIL, they are both intravenous, so IV. However, the CAR T right now, all the approved treatment are just on the blood cancer, which is only 10% of the addressable market. And a lot of effort trying to make CAR T get into the solid tumor cancers, but so far, at least I'm aware of, is like they all failed. And the side effect is relatively small compared to the traditional chemotherapies. Currently, most of the side effect on this CAR T treatment are cytokine release syndrome or neurological toxicity, which way less than the most of the chemotherapies. However, in TIL itself, compared to CAR T, the TIL actually can get into the solid tumor, at least from the Iovance phase 3 trials. Phase 2 and pivotal studies. That 90% of the cancer is solid tumor, and they start to show positive phase 2 trial results. So it looks very promising. However, we haven't reached the FDA approval decision. We don't know what kind of label FDA wants to put there. However, but based on the current phase 2 trial results, TIL does look relatively safe compared to the chemotherapies. And the other part as an investment thesis is the insiders are actually buying really, really heavily. So this Mr. Wayne is actually the director of the Iovance. He actually put down $12 million himself to buy the stock, okay, since May 2022. That's a huge amount of money. And not to mention the other interim CEO and other C-level people, they are spending like a couple $100,000 to buy the stock. We're talking about this early biotech stocks, and they are leaving in the expensive Bay Area. Usually in these early biotech stock companies or early technology companies, once the stock price progress after IPO, people want to sell them to raise cash so they can pay off their life, raise their kids, etc. But instead, they are so confident in their potential BLA filing and their technology. That's why we're seeing this unusual insider buying instead of selling to raise their own cash in their wallet. So we think this is a really big positive sign that the insiders are positive on their technology and their therapeutics they are going to put on the market. And also, a lot of famous investors have started getting into the stock as well. February 16, 2023, and famous investor Stephen Cohen, and in the 13G filing from SEC showed that his VC 0.72 and his personal name actually own 10.1% of the ownership of the stock. Right, that's very big investment for himself. And if you don't know who Stephen Cohen is, he's very famous investors, run a lot of VCs in different industry, fintech, biotech, and also he's the New Year Mets boss. Okay, he owned the baseball team. So he's very famous, big whale. If you see him start to enter this stock, that means he did his due diligence and he believes this company potentially has a really bright future. And there's some other bigger hedge funds or investors getting into as well. If you look at the SEC 13G filing, we also see DE show, etc. So all those are good signs for this stock. However, there are definitely some risks of investing IOVA here. First of all, is if FDA doesn't approve this drug later this year, because so far we only see the data that Iovance management told us, but we don't know the data that is submitted to FDA. But from what we have seen on the table as a public information, everything does look positive and promising, like we have discussed. And also, there's also a chance which we have seen that more and more often lately, which I personally think is ridiculous. But it had happened before that FDA might haven't inspected Iovance production facility due to the work from home situations from COVID-19. And we have seen that in the ticker name for FERU FDA approval case last year, caused the PDUFA date, the FDA approval date, to be delayed. That happened. That might temporarily tank the stock price. So that's just another risk on the table. On the regulatory side, and even if the Lifileucel has been approved or being approved, the marketing will be difficult at the beginning for such a smaller biotech company, and especially they don't have a commercial partner at the moment. So launching this product by themselves will be challenging and costly. That's something to think about. The other part is the insurance coverage and the fees will be the critical. So far, we don't have any information, but Iovance doesn't seem to have a lot of sales and marketing compared to large pharma. So that potentially, like we mentioned, will slow down the commercial launch. So the early sales volume might not be that impressive as people would hope on this super promising technology. And also, we mentioned the first few slides how TIL works. This TIL treatment, again, just want to reiterate, will only work if a patient who unfortunately has solid tumor cancer and his or her tumor cells contain these TIL cells. If they don't have TIL cells or are not able to extract TIL cells from his or her tumor cells, this TIL treatment won't work. So potentially that will lower or reduce the addressable market in this case. And also potentially Iovance might fail to expand the TIL treatment, Lifileucel, into other solid tumor, even after their Lifileucel got approved by FDA for melanoma. So that potentially might reduce the addressable market, and the stock price might not push as high as we hope. And of course, a lot of people are talking about recession, so general market weakness as another risk here, even though we don't worry that much on the number 7, because usually this early biotech, the valuation is pretty reasonable at $1 billion. They usually trade out their own agenda. But if the market tank, let's say very heavily, 20-30%, yeah, potentially might tank this stock as well. But again, the unemployment number is so low at 3.5%. We still don't think there's a recession on the horizon. And go back to number 6 really quick. Based on the current data that we have seen on cervical cancer, lung cancer, and I forgot what's the other one they were trying to work on, head and neck cancer. All the phase 2, most of the phase 2 trial looks pretty promising. So we don't think Iovance, the chance of failing into expanding other solid tumors will be pretty low. But I just want to list the risk here just to FYI. Thanks for watching this longer video. If you like the video, make sure to like it and follow us at MoneyPigTrading.com and YouTube channel MoneyPigTrading. Also, we have a robust Discord community, www.moneypigtrading.com. Feel free to check out Twitter, Instagram, Facebook group, Reddit, or MoneyPigTrading. Thanks for watching this longer video. If you have any question, feel free to leave the comment down below. And if you won't see us making another Iovance video, it's potentially because we might have in the future conflict of interest, then we might not be able to update you guys unless there's really, really big negative news happening. We still really believe this is a truly big opportunity for cancer treatment. So if we don't update you guys, it's not because we don't like the company anymore. It's just because of this potential future conflict of interest, which we'll continue to find out if that happened. We might make a YouTube post just to let you guys know. We cannot comment on the stock anymore, but so far we are freely be able to comment about the stock, and we want to share this future bright star in the biotechnology industry. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.